from that little tag there. It's taken the front PU off on the right-hand side of the car, but of course he won't know that. He'll know there's contact, but he can't see. There's nothing flapping for him to see. There's too low on his line of sight there, so he won't know, but he'll know the handling of that car. I've got to say, Frank Stippler, we know he's got talent, but what tyres was he on to be able to pull some of the moves off he did on that lap? But Bastian Bush it is now. This is a dynamic car into the overall race lead. Frank Stippler is in second place. Nico Menzel completes the top three in a limping Falcon Porsche, and I think that's going to potentially drop down the order this lap. I think that car is wounded, not just physically from the side of the PU off, but I think it's got steering damage.
Trying to drill down into the sector times. If I tell you Hubert Haupt did sector 3 in 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Now the race leader's off onto the gravel at the Vidal chicane, and he's completely outbraked himself with no immediate pressure from Frank Stippler. Stippler nearly piles into the back of Bastian Buus as they go through the Sabine Schmitz curve and onto Hatzenbach. This will probably bring an ailing Nico Menzel back into the mix. Is that still Menzel there?
No, that's a different car.
That's the sister car.
The sister car.
Of Alex Lynn.
Now, Bastian Buus there, he ran wide. To be fair to Frank Stippler there, he made the mistake, Bastian Buus that is, ran across the gravel and rejoined. And Frank Stippler was entirely in his right to go to the left-hand side, and Bastian Buus just closed the door. There's going to be cars off.
They are all off. Buus is off.
And Stippler.
Now Stippler. And that was Menzel.
Menzel. Everybody's off. That's 5 cars off at Hatzenbach. Make that 6, the other Falcon cars off, and collects the others. We've got 6 cars, 7 cars off at Hatzenbach now. It's just an absolute skating rink down there. I would not be at all surprised if this is a red flag, Johnny.
I think it has to be, purely because...
Track's blocked. It's just not safe to get through.
Well, you can't take to the asphalt now. We're talking about the Hatzenbach area where the tyre wall is, and thankfully everybody else is slowing down in time and actually taking to the grass in order to get around this. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all in the barrier, and Hubert Haupt will be very, very happy that he has taken his time on this lap, because he's not been involved in this huge incident which has taken out the top, well... Fourth cars, you've got Stippler, Menzel, Buus, Gounon. At the time? Yeah, no, you've definitely got Stippler, Menzel, Buus and Gounon now. That's 5-4, 54 and 48. So the Herbert Falcon number 4, Menzel, dynamic, and the Landgraf Mercedes. Another one of the Porsches, which is, it is a red flag, perhaps no real surprise, but the 119 car managed to rotate well before that. But that, thankfully for Robin Cherzanovsky, means that he's not been involved in the crash at the tyre wall. But I had seen that Frank Stippler was flying off the racetrack, and even though Nico Menzel was a couple of meters, several meters further back, he just could not react in time. And regardless of whether you'd chosen full wet tyres, you were never going to stop sufficiently partway down the 2/3 of the way into the Hatzenbach, because there was that much surface water that everybody was going to aquaplane towards the scene of the accident. And I have big concerns now about some of the amount of impact, because we had very fast racing cars hitting stationary cars in the tyre wall, and despite the marshals frantically waving double waved yellows, nobody could react in time, mainly because of the visibility. I actually mentioned on the rolling lap that there was no sight of any of the wet stuff, and that changed so quickly. It has a habit of doing so here at the Nürburgring. Yeah, but when you catch out the quality drivers of Stippler, Menzel, Buus, Gounon, all at the same place, there's something clearly wrong. So the Aston 17's in there. Stippler, the number 3 Porsche. So that's Lynn. That's Alex Lynn, isn't it? Yeah, I wonder whether Menzel actually got... No, I think Menzel's involved as well, but he got further around. But I cannot imagine that Menzel continued on. He did, you know, because he got to the end of sector 2. So my apologies. He's carrying damage, remember? Yeah, but he's got time to pit and get that sorted now. And that actually possibly, ironically, did him a favour. Because it was Alex Lynn that managed to progress up the order. Because they say we saw the 2 Falcon cars swap order, because we suddenly realised that front PU was still attached. And then it was very much not attached, because it's gone into the barriers and collected one of the Mercedes. Stippler in behind that. That Stippler's car was then also collected by the... I'm trying to see which car that is. The black car's the Jutta Audi R8. Correct. Yes, it is. And that's got rear wing damage, where that's been, I think that went in first, higher up, rotated round. The Aston, Pro Sport Aston's facing the wrong way, as is
is the Landgraf Mercedes at the front?
It was the Jules Gounon car.
Yeah.
So that's the Loche car, but it may well be called Landgraf as well. Yes, indeed. Team Landgraf,
yeah.
48 for Jules Gounon. So Hubert Hout, despite him doing a 2 minutes 14 through the second sector, or was it the third sector on that first lap, which was nowhere in comparison, actually that slightly more conservative approach has resulted in Hubert Hout being able to continue. Bastien Booz is out of the 54 car and is able to walk around the dynamic GT.
Alex Lynn just getting out of the Falcon car on the right-hand side. Of course, it's a left-hand drive car, and he can't open the left-hand door because it's against Stifler's Porsche. So how do you get out? So he's got to climb over it, and I can tell you that's no mean feat. He's only just got out of that, not because of any injury. He's absolutely fine. He's out of his own power, but climbing out of a current GT3 or 4 race car is not easy. You've got to climb over the centre console. Now, I think Menzel has also now stopped on that red flag lap. He's now stopped as well. So I think that damage he sustained, I did say it was wounded. Well, we had a lot more happening in between. I think Menzel's out, so not a good day for Falcon at the moment.
Not a good day for so many of the teams we would have expected to have done well in this race. And now so many drivers, including Alex Lynn, taking the helmet off.
Just at the other side of Foxhole, or approaching Adenauer Forst, is Alex Lynn in the other Falcon car. That's out as well. Drivers, a little bit of psychology here. Drivers, some of the drivers wisely, as they go out of the car, keeping helmets on, just in case others think it's their fault and want to come and remonstrate. Always keep your helmet on until they've shaken hands. A little insight there, especially if you're guilty.
I don't think anybody's guilty in this.
No, I think the weather was guilty on that one.
Because bizarrely, the road's actually stopped.
Yeah. On a positive note, the barriers, which are at this part of the Hatzenbach, obviously covered by 2 layers of tyre wall and then conveyor belting. The barriers are absolutely fine. Nothing's got there. Everything's gone in quite slowly, light impact, enough to do lots of damage to the car. The team probably will remonstrate with me, take umbrage with the phrase light impact. Let's just see. So it was Stifler coming through Tiergott, wanted to just clip the front of the number 4 Falcon car, which is Nico Menzel. To be fair, he was kind of alongside. Now, this is the bit where Bastien Booz runs wide and then cuts back across, and Stifler had every right to have a little look down there. This is going off the end of the GP circuit into Sabine Schmidt's curve. They carry on a bit further out, then they sort of get to Hatzenbach, isn't it? Where they don't get very far, and it's just huge impact for Bastien Booz on the right-hand side of the circuit. He just understeered off and could do nothing about it. Frank Stifler tried to miss him, and everybody else then, 1, 2, 3, 4 cars, include so there's the there's Alexander Lynn going in as well, and then it's the Audi arriving at some pace, and that's probably done the biggest damage to all the cars. There is the Audi arriving, total skating ring. It's exactly what happened to the first Porsche of Nico Menzel, just completely understeered off on the right-hand side. That's why there's little damage to the conveyor belting, because the damage is on the big impact is on the right-hand side of the circuit, and it's done quite a lot, taking the front right-hand wing off that dynamic car, hasn't it?
Nearly taking the front right-hand wheel off the dynamic car. So it's going to take some recovering of those 6 cars. Nico Menzel was definitely involved. He actually hit the barrier to further damage his Porsche. But weirdly, I wonder whether the front bumper had actually sort of partially gone back on. I couldn't see any more gap between the front of the car and the front bumper, and I think the force of the airflow was actually doing him a favour and pushing the bumper back onto the front of the car. But then he hit the barrier, as did so many other cars, and Nico Menzel's did incredibly well to get down to the foxhole. He was hoping he might even be able to limp the car all the way back so that they could do some relevant work on that. A red flag allows you to do that, but it is not the case. And we are denied what could have been a bonkers race there. The way it had started, it could have been absolutely superb, but sadly it's taken 6, now 7 of the key runners out in one fell swoop. And bizarrely, as I say, the rain has now stopped. So it was a short, sharp shower. There have been thunderstorms in a lot of Western Europe this week, including a significant portion of the UK. It's the tail end of a storm that's been heading across the Atlantic. So how much warning did Alex Lynn have that cars were going off in front of him? I spotted Frank Stippler's white Herbert Motorsport Porsche. That's him hitting the barrier further ahead. And Alex Lynn just cannot shave off the speed in time and bang into a car park that had already formed.
That's when he's hit by the Audi, isn't it? The second impact. Yeah, he's already stationary by Stippler's car. And that's when the Audi came in and collected it.
He was actually dealing with that very calmly and coolly, and then he suddenly realised, oh, hang on a minute, there's going to be more piling in a second. Then he puts his hands across his chest, crossed them to make sure that the steering wheel wasn't going to break any fingers. And just waited for the noises to stop, and thankfully they did shortly after that. But I mean, one of the biggest impacts was the latter one, which was Alexei Veremenko in that all-black Jutta Racing Audi number 8 slamming in, and that kind of came in sideways, cleaned out a bit of Alex Lynn's Porsche, and also squished the Herbert Motorsport car even more into the barrier.
Sadly, John, I think there's two elements to the delay.